And we're live once again on another Tuesday. And I have a special guest in the house today, Rhonda Sher, coming to you from California. California girl. Woo-hoo-hoo. So, Rhonda, before we get stuck in with our topic, it's an honor to have you here today. Can you just introduce yourself, let people know who you are and what you do, and then we'll just get stuck in.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. So, I actually live in Carlsbad. I have a fun backstory. I'll give you the very short version of it. I was one of the very fortunate people that got to marry my husband twice. So we were married for 28 years and divorced for 6, and then we got remarried with Elvis back in 2016. And and when I share with you a little bit about LinkedIn and how LinkedIn posts can actually convert to appointments, it was actually that system that allowed me to retire my husband, or as I like to call him, my husband wasband, because I say I didn't have to change my name and the kids are ours. So we can call it 43 years with 6 off for good behavior, or 7 because we just had our second, we get 2 anniversaries. But really, what I do, Gillian, is I work with entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, a lot of attorneys, pretty much everybody that's not a job hunter, that's serious about growing their business. And I show them how to stop hiding out and start standing out on LinkedIn. And without being salesy or sleazy, generate anywhere from 2 to 20 appointments a week using the power of a LinkedIn post, because I don't believe in posting and ghosting. I really believe in providing value that's motivational and inspirational. It gets people up and smiling. So, that's really what it is. And I love living in Carlsbad. I live 3 blocks from the beach. And every day I wake up so grateful that I have my best friend, husband, with me. And, we have our 2 amazing adult daughters. And life is good. And it got better when I met you. It
Ah.
was on that amazing platform with Network After Work. And I was like, who is this woman and where has she been hiding? I need to work with her. So it all just fell into place.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. A great summary. I do have to ask though, you got married by Elvis. Did you come to Vegas? Was it a Vegas wedding?
It was. We did it in a limo and we live streamed it to all of our friends. And the funny part is, I don't know if you remember the story, that horrible story of those children in Paris that were all 13 kids living in a house with those parents that abused them. And they went to Vegas for a second wedding, and it was the same Elvis that married us, married them. And he's literally just a tiny little guy. I mean, I'm 5'11", and this guy was probably 5'6", but I have the video, and he walked me down the aisle.
Oh, too funny, too funny. And like, talk about your brand, like Elvis is in the house. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let me put up our banner, what we're talking about today, besides Elvis, how to generate appointments from your LinkedIn posts. And it's a fabulous topic. And it's something that, to be honest with you, this is not my thing. This is not my specialty at all. And I was thinking in the shower, because it's where I do all my thinking. I was thinking in the shower today, and I thought, I don't know if it's an extrovert introvert thing, but it's like when I hear the word appointments, I go, "Ee." So talk me off the ledge, Rhonda.
Oh, well, think of an
Talk about
appointment.
this?
Yeah, so think of an appointment, okay, just like this conversation, right? I mean, I've watched your LinkedIn lives. You're very interactive, and nobody would know you're an introvert. They really wouldn't. And imagine that you're just having a 20 or 30-minute conversation with somebody. And you ask them questions. Well, tell me about yourself. You read their profile and you see, for example, maybe they volunteered for Habitat for Humanity, or maybe they went to the same school as you, whatever that happens to be. It's having that conversation. And eventually it leads to, well, tell me what your biggest struggles are in work. Maybe I have a resource I can refer to you. So think of having, these conversations as no more than just that, a conversation. It's a one-to-one where people favorite subject is themselves. So you just ask open-ended questions. That's all it really is, because what we want to do is be a resource for people. The hardest part is getting the appointment. How do you get people to raise their hand and say, I want to talk to you, I want to know more, and not be that person that's going to do the bait and switch and sell you,
Mm.
right? So that's all it is. And you already, how many conversations have we had? People inquire about your services, right?
Yep, 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 yep.
And
And yep.
you don't need to be an extrovert to tell them.
No, that's true. That's true. And I know that, like, personally, during the pandemic was the first time I ever linked out with anybody. Everything was kind of like on LinkedIn. It was just like chatting through DMs, that sort of thing.
Oh,
But during the pandemic, somebody actually, Jeff Young, who is now a
oh, I
very,
love
very
Jeff.
good,
I've actually hired him to consult with a couple times. He's awesome.
he's an amazing person. And the first time I linked out with him, he's retired now, so he had nothing to sell. But I remember coming to the meeting, that very first meeting, and thinking, oh my gosh, what, it was like I had, like, Star Trek, like phasers up, phase shields up, phasers on, stun. And I think that maybe that's just some of us. It's like we're not sure how to do the dance. So we just kind of go, I'll just stay here by the wall for a while and let other people chit chat. But you're right, it's just a conversation. So let's kind of look at the dynamics, Rhonda. How do you actually go from making a post to setting an appointment? Because that seems like, and a miracle
Yeah.
happened.
Well, so there's a couple things first. Okay. First of all, you need to make sure your profile is actually, optimized and complete. Okay. So I like to give the analogy. I could drive from Carlsbad to Vegas in a Toyota and get there just fine. And I could drive there in a Mercedes just as well. Either way, it's a car that's functioning, right? So your profile has to really position you as the only logical choice. Somebody looks at it, they know what you do. They're not confused. It doesn't look like you're 3 jobs ago and you're looking for a job when this is what you do. However, once that's done, okay, and you start just interacting with other people's posts, because it's always about giving first. I mean, you could never walk into a bank, Gillian, and say, well, I'd like to withdraw $100,000. And they'll say, I'm sorry, you've never made a deposit. It doesn't work. So
Nice
you want to make
analogy.
sure that you interact with other people's posts in a thoughtful way, not just nice posts, but wow, never knew about that. I'm going to check that out. Or you made me smile today. Thanks so much. Or whatever. So when it comes to posting and how you generate appointments, I like to say that if you really want to generate appointments, not necessarily to do the 20 or 30%, which is posting about what you do, but to post motivational, inspirational, educational, and sometimes even humorous posts. So here's a real life example. I posted something not too long ago that was a picture of, now you can identify because we're both baby boomers. It was a picture of a pencil and an eraser. Okay. And it said something like, I can remember the days when this was actually, delete and, can you relate, because we didn't have computers when we were growing up. And that post got an awful lot of likes and comments. Now, views are awesome, all right, but you can't do anything with a view. So think about how many times do you drive down the highway or the freeway and you see billboards? And unless that billboard really appeals to you, you're just going to keep going. It's like you never even viewed it. But when you see a post that makes you smile, something that you can relate to, you're going to like it and you're going to comment on it potentially on your post. People will do that for you. And maybe they might even repost or share it. So you say, well, all that's great, but how do you turn that into an appointment, Rhonda? Well, click on the people that liked your post. And what will happen is, and it doesn't have to be yours, by the way. I can click on anybody's post that somebody liked, read the comments. And if I see that that's somebody that I want to get to know better, right? So maybe it's somebody that it's first level connection, but haven't had a conversation with them, and kind of like first cousins that you see at a wedding that you haven't seen for 100 years, right? And I send them a message and I basically say, hey, Gillian, thank you so much for liking my post about, the pencil and how that was the way we used to actually delete things. We had real pencils. Love to just reconnect. It's 2023. Not sure what's going on in your world, but maybe there's some resources we can share. I promise I'm not going to sell you anything, but if you're up for it, let me drop a link to my calendar. That's how people will book on your calendar. And it's really the magic words. I'm not going to sell you anything because nobody wants to be sold. We're so overwhelmed with people that are spraying and praying and just, and that's all it is. And you can send those messages in a variety of ways. Maybe for you, I know you're the video queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to send a video.
That's a good idea.
Because for you, video is easy peasy, right? Other people, maybe they don't want to be on video. No problem. Send it as a written text or send an audio. But what you do is you send a personalized message, which will stand out, make the invitation. And 1 out of 3 of those people, if the verbiage is correct, you let them know, how you've connected and there's something personal in it, they'll jump on your calendar. It's as simple as that.
Now, are you doing this with first level connections or does it even matter? What's sort of your strategy?
So first level connections for me, only because I'm bumping up against the 30,000. So I have so many connections since I've been on LinkedIn for, since 2007. However, a lot of times what will happen is because I'm commenting on other people's posts, and sometimes they're really influencers, they will then start to reshare my stuff. So I'm starting to see a lot of second level and even some third. So what I'll do is I'll look at who the second level is and I'll say, wow, I want to get to know that person. So I'll actually send them a connection request and I'll say, thanks so much for commenting or liking the post about XYZ. I also see we share some common connections. I'd be honored to connect with you and learn more about what you do and how we can support each other. And I send the connection request. When they accept, and most of the time they will, I will then send them a video that said, hey, Gillian, thanks so much for accepting my connection request. You know what? I'd love to get to know you better. If you're up for it, let me just drop a link to my calendar. I promise, not a sales call, just to get to know you. And I look forward to learning how we can support each other. And so even if it's not my first level, guess what? I made a new connection. I thanked them and I extended the invitation. Now they can say no. I have kids. You can't hurt my feelings, right? And there you go.
Wow, that's pretty easy peasy. It's very, I like it because it's gentle. It's not the here, let me send you a PDF and a this and a that and everything else. And, come join this. And here's my $10,000 course. Because I know as soon as they get those, I'm like, I back away. But this is just very gentle. So how long are your appointments when you meet with people like this? Are they sort of
The
your typical
max is
15?
30 minutes. And oftentimes people will say, and I'm sure this happens to you as well, hey, Rhonda, I'd really like to know more about how to work with you. I'd like to know more about what you offer. And I'll say, thank you for asking. I promise this wasn't a sales call. So let's set up another call. I don't care if we do it in 30 minutes, but my first value is integrity. I said I wasn't going to sell anything. Let's set up another call. I'd be happy to share with you. And that's how the calls typically go. And I have a course that I teach on exactly this. And what we do in the course is we actually role play. So because people get stuck, they don't know what to do with those 30 minutes or those 20 minutes. And so it's really about how do you get somebody to open up, right? And if I say, well, how's the weather? You're going to tell me how the weather is. And then where do I go? It's a one-word answer. But What if I ask you, Gillian, what's your favorite thing about Easy Peasy Video? Now you're going to light up because it's something that you do and you're going to share, and then it's going to open up more questions for me. And so we're still staying on track, but it's not about me. It's about you, and you're an introvert, and I'm still getting you to open up.
Nice. That's great. That's great. I love this. This is very, very simple, very, very straightforward. How many, sort of, in terms of like how many messages do you send out to, in terms of how many appointments you're getting? What's sort of in your numbers?
That's a great question, because for everybody it's different. When you're busy, a lot of us are entrepreneurs, which means we're working in our business and on our business. So if I'm extremely busy, like last week, I had five webinars that I was leading, where people
Oh,
invited me into their companies, and they put the group in front of me and I got to speak. So I was not looking to get my calendar filled with get to know you calls, because I was preparing for these webinars. And when I do a webinar, I always look at the LinkedIn profiles of the people that are attending, so that I can specifically know my audience and address, tweak my slides, address my questions. So the great news is you're in charge. You can decide how much you want to turn it on or turn it off. I actually have a client who's a coach. She's amazing. And this worked so well for her that now what she does is she actually has a time when she'll invite up to 5 people into a room and get to know them all, so they get to know each other. I mean, it worked.
oh
She
wow.
couldn't keep up with the number of people that were booking appointments. I have another client that's an executive coach, and she took my class. She actually booked 5 appointments, and one of them turned into a $10,000 client. So, the reality of it is, it's really how many appointments do you want? And more importantly, you have to be able to know how to read that profile, because you want to be talking to the right people.
Mm.
It's kind of like going to a chamber event. You walk in, you look at all the name tags, right? You're always going to be drawn to that person that kind of piques your interest, that you want to know more. Well, it's the same thing on LinkedIn. You're going to look at the people that like the post or that have commented, then look at their profile and say, wow, I never knew that this person went to UMass like I did, or this person took the Landmark Forum course like I did. So you're looking for areas of commonality. And at the same point, maybe it's not that they're your client, but someone you can help.
Mm.
So you position it from the standpoint of, hey, you know what, Gillian, I'd love to have a call with you. I actually know of a couple of networking groups that may be a perfect fit for you. And you can just visit as a guest. I'd be happy to make the introduction. If you're looking, hey, jump on my calendar. So again, I'm not looking to sell you anything, but if I can be a resource, guess what? When something comes up, you're going to ask me, well, what can I do for you, Rhonda? And of course, I'm going to say, well, do you know any groups that are looking for somebody to educate them on how to have an unfair advantage using LinkedIn? That's my ask.
That's great. That's great. And I like this because I know in the past, I used to have like my discovery call link on my profile. And it was like, okay, it's there. If anybody wants to hop on a call or get to know me, that's great. I had a couple of like really bad experiences with people showing up because I wasn't in charge. So I had people booking me, and then all of a sudden I'd have an appointment. I'd show up at the appointment, and it was scary. It was really, really scary. And so I just went, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. So now I kind of like qualify anybody and then I give them the link. But I like this because if you're in charge of the outbound appointment setting, then you are purposely, you're kind of like filtering people before you meet with them. Because, like you said, they might not necessarily become a client, but they might become a colleague, someone I can help, someone that we can work together and share resources. So I like this.
Yeah, and
This is
I'll tell
good.
you, I've had the same experience. In fact, yesterday, I switched something up on my Calendly, and I added in a 1 hour, because I have a lot of clients that get 1 hour of coaching with me as part of the package. And I realized that they would have to kind of piece together 2 30-minute back-to-backs. So I went into Calendly and I fixed it. And I noticed that somebody that I had no idea who this person was, and it was only a first initial and a last name, had booked an hour with me. So I had the email, couldn't find anything on them. And I sent them a very nice email and said, Hey, I noticed that you booked time with me on my calendar. Love to know how you found me. What's your LinkedIn profile and what are you hoping to accomplish in our call? And the next thing that happened was they actually canceled on Calendly.
Mm,
So that's one of the things that you can do. The other thing that I've done is I use an assessment on my LinkedIn profile as the call to action. And it's actually Magpie, which I now call Network with Rhonda. So people go to Network with Rhonda, they fill it out. It's just 10 questions. And the cool part is they get the answers and I get the answers. So when
mm,
we jump on the call, I already know a whole lot about them. And it's not
mm.
that I'm selling them. I do have a much more extensive one when I know that they're specifically looking to work with me. But that's another way that you can protect your time.
Mm.
And if somebody's not going to give you 5 minutes or less than that to fill this out, it's like the old example, right? When somebody applies for a job and they say, okay, I just want to let you know we're doing drug testing. And their question is, well, how many days notice do I get before you tell me when you're going to test? You already know that that's not somebody that you're going to want to hire.
Right, right. I like that. I like that. That's very smart. And I do remember seeing that before on your profile. We talked about that
Yeah.
beforehand because I think that's a really good. The more information you have up front, because also too, we just can't retain all that information. So even if you did a thorough analysis and you went through somebody's profile and you went, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
went to the same university and we're both INFJs or, something like that,
Right.
you're going to forget it and you show up on the call and it's like boom 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 right in front of you. And I like that if they have it too, it's not sketchy. It's like everything's very transparent, out in the open. That's really good. That's
Yeah,
really good.
and they like it because it gives them a point of reference as well. And it's unusual because most people only will put maybe one or two questions if they do that on Calendly or whatever system they're using. So this is
Right.
just a way that people kind of earn the trust to get the appointment with you because our most valuable asset is our time.
You are so right. You are so right. So what we can do if we look at this purposefully, we can protect our time, we can protect ourselves, we can make sure that we're approaching people that are a good fit in terms of our target market, in terms of who we want to work with as clients and who we want to grow our network as colleagues. So there's a lot of pluses to this system. Okay, you sold me.
Yeah.
You
And
sold
one
the introvert.
I love it. And one other part of it that I look at, and I think a lot of people don't see this, they think of, who's my end user, right?
Mm,
And the reality is that it's much easier to get a referral than it is to get somebody that you have to convince. So,
mm,
what if you actually looked at people? Let's use the real estate agent just as an example. Okay. People typically check their real estate agents out to see if they're going to use them on LinkedIn, but they don't usually look for them on LinkedIn unless it's a CEO that might be moving or relocating or whatever. But what if you actually were a real estate agent and you connected with divorce attorneys or you connected with the mortgage people? Well, if
mm,
somebody's going to go through a divorce, guess what's going to happen? They're typically going to be buying or selling. So, who's going
mm.
to know about that? The divorce attorney, the divorce mediator. So, maybe the appointments you want aren't necessarily with CEOs where everybody is chasing them to get their business, but it's the people that are actually dealing with those people because their recommendation has so much more weight than
Mm.
just going to somebody cold.
Got it. Yeah. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, I see we have a lot of comments, so I will start zipping through them. So we got Jeff Young. I made it, Gillian. Did anyone take my front row seat?
Hi,
Ready to learn
Jeff.
from you and Rhonda. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yay, Jeff. Thank you. Hi, Gillian, Rhonda, Jeff, and everyone from Barcelona. That's the wonderful thing about these lives is the community. And I wrote a post about this yesterday that like LinkedIn is making the world smaller because we have, you and I, we're real close and you got married in Las Vegas anyways. But isn't it wonderful that we have people across the pond in Spain, in England, wherever. So it's amazing. Jeff Young, hey, hey, hey. And I love this too because people come and it's a party and they're networking with each other in the comments. And that to me is the fabulous part about LinkedIn Lives. I really like how Rhonda describes people's mistake as LinkedIn Witness Protection Program in her
It's so
profile.
funny because I say that because what happens is I'll get a call from somebody who's, looking to grow their business. They're looking for more leads. They're looking for more prospects, and their profile has no banner. It looks like they're looking for a job. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, are you in the LinkedIn Witness Protection Program? Because nobody is going to find you. It's like the old joke. Where's the best place to hide a body? Page 2 of Google. Nobody goes there.
So true. That's so true. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. Hello, Gillian Whitney, Rhonda Sher, and everyone just coming on. Jeff Young. So I could not take the front seat. Isn't it great when people want the front seat to the lives? It's
And
great.
look, Jeff's
It's great.
giving it up. He's a gentleman. He's such a gentleman. And he actually is. I don't know if you remember, Jeff, but we actually had a couple of conversations before the pandemic, and you are awesome, my friend.
He is. He's don't tell anybody. He's my favorite. he's just my favorite. He's just my favorite. Yay for
Yay
the
for
boomers.
Yes,
And
yay.
I love this. I love this because that is the thing now, that it's like, we talked a little bit about this before we went on air today, and we were talking about the dynamics of LinkedIn. It's like, it's getting crowded out here. It's like, there's a lot of people coming to LinkedIn. The baby boomers, we're still here. And, and yet there's young people coming on the platform as well. And it's like, we all have to find our way, but it makes you realize you have to be very intentional with how you use LinkedIn. And I think so many of us just kind of go, I'll post and then the right people will be drawn to me. And I don't need to have any kind of lead generation strategy. But it's really, now that it is getting so busy, somebody might not even see your stuff. So you have to, like you said, just kind of work it a little bit. So yay for the boomers.
Really important too is most people have seen that little bell on the profile, right? And they don't know what that is. And if you click on it, you're following somebody for their posts. And to your point, Gillian, you made a really good one. If you really look at what the baby boomers like me and you and the millennials and the Gen X and the Gen Zs are posting, it's very different. The younger people are posting very differently than we post. And it's not that one is better than the other at all. But, we're posting from, I like to say, from our heart, so that people can relate. And I will never forget many, many years ago when I was on LinkedIn in the early days, there was a gentleman who's now posting all the time. You can even check him out. He's amazing. His name is Richard DePilla. And he created the Global Goodwill Ambassadors. And I used to love his posts. I would just, every day I'd look at it and I would like, and I would share. And I didn't really know what I was doing in those days. This was very, very early on with posting. And one day I just decided to send him a message. And he was already, oh my God, we had connected in 2012. And I said, Richard, I just want to say thank you, because you make me smile every morning. I love what you post. It's so inspirational. Thank you for making my mornings start off on the right foot. And he wrote back and said, thank you so much. You've made my day just by acknowledging it. And I've been following you. And he wrote something about me, of what I did. And in fact, because of his influence, because he really is an influencer, and now he's a huge influencer, my inbox blew up. So, I wasn't looking for anything. I was really just, taking a moment to acknowledge somebody that made my morning a little bit better.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I think that, to me, is the power of LinkedIn, is that there's no gatekeepers. We can converse with anyone on this platform. You can follow anyone on this platform. You can leave a thoughtful comment. And like, for instance, somebody I know, they did a video, and it was Ryan Anderson. He did a video and he talked about Seth Godin. Seth Godin dropped a comment. Like, you just go, wow, like, how else do you ever get noticed by somebody but this is the power of LinkedIn, that we are just really one or two connections from just the most important people on the planet that are important to you. Not that they're just important, but they're key people for you. Very powerful. Very
It
powerful.
is. And here's a real bonus tip that doesn't have to do with posting, but I'll tell you that the majority of my clients have said to me, this is one of the most valuable things that I've ever shared with them. So I'll share it with your audience because I think it's great. Okay. Imagine that somebody's done something, said something really great about you. Okay. And yet nobody knows about it because it doesn't show up as a recommendation on LinkedIn. So, what if you just made a practice of, say, 2 or 3 times a week, writing a heartfelt recommendation to somebody that really made a difference for you? So, when we get off, I'm going to write a recommendation for you because, this has been such an awesome experience. And I want to encourage other people to follow you, to work with you. I'm working with you, right? To be able to do that. And it's kind of like getting out of your car and finding a $20 bill on the ground. Like, wow, this is so cool. Somebody took the time to write a recommendation. And then what you do is you pass it forward. So it's like, ever driven through Starbucks and you go to pay for your coffee and they say, oh, the car in front of you paid, right? And what do? You go, oh, well, great. Just pay for the car in back of me. You pay it forward. Well, giving recommendations is the same thing. And when you're posting and you're resharing with your comments, so it's not just, click and repost, but it's like, wow, this was an amazing post. I learned so much and I had to share it because ... right? Now what you're doing is you're paying it forward. It's almost like giving a recommendation, but you're giving your stamp of endorsement with your comments so that your followers can now see, and maybe they'll start following that person, or maybe they'll just keep waiting for you to reshare and repost.
Right, right. I love that. That's great. That's great. And thank you very much in advance for giving me a recommendation, because I think recommendations are something that are I love that they're a win-win on LinkedIn, because that person is now, when you give a recommendation, you're now linked forever on each other's profiles. So, given and received, so
And there's a date and there's the relationship. So it isn't like when you go to a website and you see, Mary Smith, Texas. Well, you can never verify that that's real. But on LinkedIn, you have to be first level, and you, with one click, you can go look at that person's profile. And I will tell you, I've actually called people when I was thinking of hiring somebody. I'll say, hey, I noticed you wrote a recommendation for so-and-so. I'm actually thinking of investing. I'm curious, could you just tell me a little bit more about what your experience was since you wrote a recommendation? And, if they went that far, they're going to really give you what you're looking for.
brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so Zoom, 30 minutes just goes flying by so quick. So I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of leave us with one sort of takeaway, Rhonda, of our topic today. So what would you kind of close this out with, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody.
I think what I would close you out with is create your own hashtag. So if you want to find my posts, and I've been doing this for, 6 or 8 months, my hashtag is the Sher method. So you just put in the little box on the top, hashtag the Sher method, and you'll find all my posts. But you should create your own hashtag so that people can find you and follow you and let them know what it is. And every day, just spend about 10 minutes before you post, liking and engaging with other people's posts. And remember, if you are not LinkedIn, you are absolutely left out.
Ooh, I love it. Super, super. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Rhonda. It's been awesome. Great tips. Really, really appreciate it. Everybody, please go follow Rhonda, follow her hashtag. It's a great hashtag. And we'll be back next week with another LinkedIn Live with Gillian and friends. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.